Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome on. This is Business Connections Live, the program for SMEs, entrepreneurs and also business owners. Lovely to have you with us. And before we go any further, let's just say a very happy new year to you. It's our first show of 2017 and I am honoured, nay privileged to have a very special guest with us here on today's show. My guest on today's programme is talking all about the power of charisma in business is the fabulous yellow encrusted Sylvia Baldock. Sylvia, it's lovely to have you back on the programme and thank you ever so much. We saw each other just before Christmas, of course, at our big Christmas party live and you were giving some good advice. Just great to have you back in on the show again, because I think, you know, people go into the new year, don't they? And they seem to be at a loss about how they're going to make this year different, make this year count. And that's what you're all about, isn't it?
Absolutely what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people to realise that underneath what they're doing now, there's so much more potential that they can tap into, and each and every one of us can. And everything that I do is about helping people to recognise the value that they've got, the value they've got to offer, and about bringing that out to the fore.
When I've talked to you before in the past, I mean, it's been all about, well, I suppose to a certain extent, it's about your personal branding.
Yes.
It's your personal branding, your personal presence, the mere fact that you wear this bright yellow, people do recognise you. I did notice, though, in some old publicity photographs, you haven't always done that.
No, I haven't.
No, so you've got your intrinsic branding here. But today we're talking about something a little bit different. It isn't about branding, or is it? I mean, is charisma all about personal brand still?
It's very much connected with personal brand. You know, a lot of people think that charisma is just the luck of the draw. You know, you're either born with it or you're not, and you can't teach it. And if you're thinking about teaching charisma in terms of, oh, well, you should stand this way, or you should project your voice this way, or you should use these kind of arm movements, then that's not very authentic. And ultimately, the truth will out that you're just putting on an act. And a lot of people in the public eye, politicians, the royals, movie stars, etc., are taught how to appear more charismatic by those external factors. But what I do is help people to connect with who they are at their core and what they have to offer, and to understand their unique strengths. And when people recognise that, what that does is it builds their confidence, their self-esteem from within, and then their charisma naturally shines.
It's interesting because you look across business, and depending on where you are in business, it's trying to make this fit for people. I know CEOs who are completely charisma free, but they rule by fear,
yes,
which I think is a bad management style. And I know other CEOs who just have oodles of charisma,
yes,
absolute oodles of it, and that charisma they do manage by charisma. They because people are so engaged by them. So, are we really talking about personal engagement?
Very much so. I mean, coming back to the leaders who rule by fear, what fear does is it stops us thinking, because we're so driven by this fear and about trying to get things right for that leader that we don't think for ourselves. So it squashes creativity, it squashes innovation, and you have a team who are feeling disengaged and frightened to voice their own opinion, frightened to try something new for fear that that manager is going to come down on them like a ton of bricks. Whereas a charismatic leader recognises the strengths of the team around them and encourages them to speak and listens. And that's one of the key attributes of somebody who's charismatic. They really listen, and they don't listen to think about what they're going to say next or what clever question they can ask. They really listen to understand. And when you're listened to in that way, you just ooze creativity. You just feel, right, I've got this opportunity to speak, to share what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about, what I think we should do next. And it really opens up amazing channels of communication within a team.
Is it something that you think that is measurable?
Well, not measurable in the sense that I could put a little EEG machine on you and measure it, but you can definitely measure the impact of charisma. So when we were talking earlier, I mentioned Nikki Owen, who's the author of this great book called Charismatic to the Core. And she has done masses of research into the impact of charisma. So in 2012, and for the 3 years after that, she ran charisma workshops at the Globe Theatre. And what she did was she tested out lots of different qualities of leadership and engagement and motivation and productivity before they went through the workshop. And then she tested it afterwards. And the difference was quite staggering. The improvement in engagement, the improvement in ideas, the improvement in people's attendance at work even was much, much higher afterwards when that leader had developed more of their charisma. So it can be measured in that way, yes, definitely.
If somebody's watching this and they're thinking to themselves, okay, this is just baloney, if someone is saying that, because sometimes what we do is that we put together, we repackage things that are already in existence. For instance, NLP, for instance. NLP is understanding about what's going on in your linguistic way, the way people... There are people that are practicing NLP and don't realise that they're practicing NLP. And I'm just wondering, is being charismatic, is that something by another name? Do you see where I'm going?
I do see what you mean, and
I mean, will people be in business doing this, and they're thinking, well, I many of the things you're saying that will give me that added charisma I'm already doing.
They may well be doing some of them, but they're probably not doing all of them. And we can all, because you don't arrive at charisma. You know, you don't one day go on a workshop and the next day, oh, I've got all the charisma I need now. It's
See, I've got
something
bucket
that
loads
develops.
of it.
I would agree with you, Steve.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
a really charismatic chap. I might say differently in this interview, but hey. No, it's an ongoing journey. So what I do is deliver charisma connection workshops, and what we recognise is that you can have the most phenomenal workshop in the world, and people will have lots of light bulb moments, they'll get masses out of it, they'll make some changes, but it then has to be sustainable. So what we're delivering now, as well as the Charisma Connection workshop, is modular learning. So every single month you are then doing something, learning something new, doing something practical. So you're constantly developing that charisma and taking it to another level. So you're learning how to listen more effectively. You're learning how to realise that your ideas are valuable and let's speak up in a meeting. Because if you're in a meeting and you don't speak up, then people will form their own opinion of you and they'll think you've got nothing to say. Whereas if you're in a meeting where you're listened to and everybody's paying attention to you, then you'll think, oh, right, okay, they're interested in what I've got to say, and you'll speak. So
You've nearly answered my next question in that description, but I'll ask you the question anyway. If the word charisma wasn't in the dictionary, how would you describe this?
Well, the one definition that I use a lot, having worked with Nikki Owen, is that charisma is an authentic power that captivates the hearts and minds of others. And the key word there is authentic. It has to come from within. If you're just putting on an act for the sake of the people that you meet, then it's going to come across that something's not quite right. It feels a bit fake. It feels put on. It's a bit like, do you remember Maggie Thatcher when she was interviewed on television? I remember her being interviewed by Robin Day, and she came out with an answer which was like a party political broadcast, but she finished it with a really engaging smile. And she was taught to do that. And people...
The silent assassin.
Yeah, people either loved her or they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and charisma comes in two, you know, it comes...
But that was interesting. I mean, interesting you brought up Margaret Thatcher, because when she went into power, her tone, her vocal tone, her voice was a lot higher. So she was taught to lower the tone of her voice to carry more authoritative, or to be more authoritative. Her technique, the very thing that you said there, you know, finishing sticking the knife in and then delivering with a smile.
Yes.
All of those kind of things. So it is a teachable thing. When you go into business then, what is the biggest characteristic of someone who is charisma free?
They don't listen. That's the first thing. So if I go and meet somebody in a business, I can tell the instant I start talking to them that they're not listening. They're thinking, oh, what can I ask next? Or maybe even, how can I catch you out? Or how can I get the best deal? Or how can I knock you down on price? So that they're not actually listening at all. And the impact of that is it makes whoever's speaking feel undervalued. And therefore you don't say very much. You start to close down because you know you're not being listened to. It's a bit like, have you ever been out networking and you meet somebody and you ask them what they do and they'll explain to you in great detail what they do, and then they'll do the cursory, oh, so what do you do, Steve? And while you're answering, you can sense
they're looking around you.
Looking, oh, who can I go and sell to next? How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
You just think, oh well, I might as well not bother. I might as well just go and talk to somebody else, you know. So people with no charisma just shut down the people around them, and therefore they close down the ideas and the innovation and the engagement of the team around them.
Listen, we're going to talk a little bit more about, we're going to talk a lot more, in fact, about charisma over the course of the next hour. In fact, talking about how to get better rapport with clients and prospects, maybe to reflect on your leadership skills as well, for that matter. We all now work in a very collaborative environment. So, for instance, I couldn't do this on my own. So I've just been told, yes, you could do it on your own. I may have to at one day, but I know I couldn't do this on my own because I'm surrounded by a team of professionals. Take that as a compliment. But the thing that's important about it is that it's about being collaborative, and we're going to be talking about how you actually enhance that within your business. And something that I found fascinating in your descriptions, augmented charisma. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later on, right here on this edition of Business Connections Live. You know, it's great as always to have your company. It's always great to have fantastic guests with us. Sylvia Baldock, professional speaker, business and personal coach, mentor. I've heard you speak a number of times now. You're a member of the PSA. Is that fun? Do you meet a lot of people at the PSA with oodles of charisma that really just capture it, or do you see people at the PSA? This is the Public Speakers Association. Do you see them growing? Their charisma growing? And
very much so. Very much see it growing. I mean, there are some speakers who are out there on the circuit a lot and they have masses of charisma. But there are other speakers who get on stage and the message is great, but there's very little charisma there. So one of the things I love to do is to train speakers and to help them to understand that what they've got to say is really of value, and that they're educating their audience, and that they're unique and their message is unique. And when people get that, then their confidence is raised, their self-esteem is higher, and therefore the charisma follows. But it's very much first of understanding, do you know what, I've got a really great message here and people are going to love this and I'm really going to make a difference with this. Once you've got that feeling that you are going to do that, then that charisma just shines through.
We will talk more about that whole area, and also we're going to be talking as well about something that Sylvia is working on at the moment, where you can find out whether your team has the charisma or whether you should be going to one of her talks to learn how to get, sounds like you can buy it in a box, the charisma. Let's go back to 2016. We'll go back a whole year, shall we? The last program of 2016, the last normal program of 2016, we had Louise Punter. She's the CEO of Surrey Chamber of Commerce. They're the most active business representation organisation in Surrey. We were talking all about exporting, why everybody should be exporting and how profitable it can be. If you're not exporting at the moment, and remember, it's not just a case of exporting in Surrey, it's a case of exporting right across the length and breadth of the land. Brexit now is behind us. We're in front of us, of course, we've got the signing of Article 50. How is that going to affect us? And what kind of services, what kind of organisation, what kind of business can truly go out there and actually export goods? Well, we found out on the program, and some good advice as well from Louise Punter. Just to remind us of what happened on the program, this is going back a whole year now to December 2016. Here's Louise Punter on Business Connections Live. The today's show, we're going to be talking about why everyone should be exporting and how profitable it can be for your business. Joining me in the studio today is Louise Punter, CEO of Surrey Chamber of Commerce, the most active business representation and organisation in Surrey.
But actually, our advice mostly comes from within our members. So it's really a connecting, facilitating organisation, because we couldn't possibly be experts in all areas, but I can assure you that within our membership, we do have experts in every area. So if it's a service, then obviously the most important thing is that you understand the market that you're going to. But that's no different to if you're selling your service in this country. You would research the market, you would look at, who the customers are likely to be, who the competitors are, what's the top sort of issue around that particular sector. Do really have to understand culture, and your website needs to address culture. So it's no good just putting a website up and saying, we're open to the world, it's the World Wide Web, here we are. If you are really focusing on a particular country or a particular type of, your product, your service that you're selling, then you do need to look at your website and try to adjust it to entice those overseas customers. Well, first of all, the government has a huge objective to increase the amount of exporting that goes on to help the balance of payments. Obviously, we import more than we export, and it would be really good to increase the exports. The thing that staggered me, I think the most telling statistic, if you like, that will start people thinking about it, is that the UK market is 4% of the world market, 4%. So 96% of customers are outside of the UK. And I think the message is, as ever, businesses have issues thrust upon them all the time. It might just be individual businesses that have a particular issue, or it might be something like, what's going to be the outcome of Brexit. But businesses are, by their very nature, quite agile. Well, if you go right back to basics, we do offer direct business advice. We have some clinics that we run, which involve businesses coming along and talking about their product or service and how they might develop it. And obviously, one of the ways they might develop it is by exporting. So, number one, some direct business advice. Number two, when I mentioned earlier that we had 52 UK chambers within a network, we then have 46 chambers overseas. The trade with European countries will absolutely continue. It's a large part of our export. It's a large part of our imports. So obviously there are trade relations between most European countries. People stumble into exports. They don't create a strategy and they don't think, right, I'm going to approach this market and that market. What happens is they get an inquiry from overseas, say from Madagascar. Well, the way that we help is to make sure that they are working with their bank or with, we mentioned you export finance earlier, making sure that the contract and the payment details are all in place up front. And certainly with export finance, quite a lot will be guaranteed, in advance. Hello, I'm Louise Punter, CEO of Surrey Chambers of Commerce. We support businesses all across Surrey to grow and do business, and particularly we've been talking about helping them to go overseas. Don't forget that 96% of customers are outside of the UK, so there's a huge opportunity for any business to export overseas. And if you want more information, either call us on 01483 735 540 or go to our website www.surrey-chambers.co.uk. We look forward to hearing from you.
Louise Punter there, talking all about export. If you want to see the entire programme, simply go to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. By the way, thank you very much for all the wonderful comments that we've had. Thank you very much to all the people who are following us over the festive season and have been retweeting. We've done a lot of tweeting this week, actually, haven't we?
We have indeed.
We've been tweeting away. We've been talking about Sylvia coming onto the programme. And what was really nice, the two specials that Linda Bazan and myself made, where we got all our guests throughout the year, and we had just those little snippets that we always do at the end of every programme. That's got some fantastic response, both on Facebook and on YouTube as well. And the downloads on iTunes. Incidentally, if you are watching us on iTunes, please leave a very positive comment. A 5-star review is what we're looking for, if you don't mind. Thank you very much indeed. Because what happens is that somebody will go to another business website. They will look at that, or they'll download some programs, and then of course iTunes will recommend our program to them, and of course the discovery is fabulous. If you want to do it, all you got to do is simply go along to our website and then follow the simple link. You can view the programs in iTunes. Just click on the link that says that. There you are. You're in your iTunes account now. Now it says ratings and reviews. Click on that there. Pop. Fantastic. That then takes you down to write a review. Listen, it's got to be simple. I love Steve Hyland. I think he's brilliant. His guests are fantastic as well. 5 stars. I thank you very much indeed. I have found the programme useful. There's over 164 programmes will be on iTunes, over 200 hours of free business advice. There are other channels out there that will charge you for the advice that we're giving you. The reason that we don't charge for it is that we see ourselves pretty much as a service to the business community. But if you are a business and you'd like a program like this one to appeal to your audience, your employees, your customers, then why don't you get in touch with us? Here's the details that you need to do that. All you got to do is drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. If you want, you can also, can't remember the next one, give us a call on the telephone number, which is 01784 256 777. It's completely gone, short-term memory loss. And then you can also follow us on Twitter, our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV. And what we're finding, Facebook, absolutely incredible. You can also watch the programmes on Facebook and leave comments, get in touch with us, let us know what you think. But more importantly, please do go to our website and sign up to our regular newsletters at businessconnectionslive.com. You're watching Business Connections Live. Join me in the studio today is Sylvia Baldock, professional speaker, business personal coach, and also mentor as well for that matter. And today we're talking all about the whole world of charisma. So we've got a few kind of highlights here. So let's work our way down there. Greater engagement of colleagues and team members. You kind of alluded to that a moment or so ago. So when you say greater engagement, is it a case that we're just a nicer person in the work environment, that people will, so we're listening to them, giving them clear instructions, and we're just a little bit more likeable?
Yes, we all love charismatic leaders, and obviously charisma can be good or it can be evil. Hitler, for example, charismatic, but people followed him because he was a strong leader, and we like strong leaders. So charismatic leaders are seen as being people that know what they're doing, have got some great ideas, and we like to follow them. If you take more recently with Brexit, you know, Theresa May called on Mark Carney, Bank of England governor, to come back into office to help with the whole Brexit thing, because he's got wonderful charisma, and people have been falling over themselves to work for Mark Carney. Very charismatic chap. So
doesn't always get it right, though.
Doesn't always get it right. No.
that is a bit of an issue.
But people love him. Yeah. And so when it comes down to engagement, people are far more engaged if they're working for somebody with charisma. Yes, because they listen, because they're fun to work with. They usually have got a really clear vision of where they're going. They're happy to share that vision. They're inclusive. You know, they tell people what they're working towards. They listen and they value people's ideas. So they make the workplace a joy to be in, rather than the fear-led leaders who just stifle all that creativity that we were talking about earlier.
Do you think there is an easy way to get that over to somebody that's in business? I mean, I've seen people who just seem to completely disconnect. They're in a position of power and they just seem to disconnect their workforce, but don't even realise that they're not getting the maximum potential out of them because they do not see that they are charisma free.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it's has to be managed very carefully, and the Charisma Connection workshops are very much aimed at senior leaders, and to get a group of leaders in a room together, going through quite in-depth exercises and a lot of work with the subconscious mind to help people realise the impact that their thoughts and their actions have on other people, and how being charismatic can completely change the face of a business and turn a business from struggling to being incredibly productive and incredibly successful. So yeah, it's not an easy subject, but it's a subject that business leaders are becoming more and more engaged with, more and more interested in, and more prepared to explore. So, you know, we're calling this the future of leadership and engagement, which it absolutely is. And from the taster sessions we've already run, there's been a massive amount of response to it.
In a nutshell, do you think there is a quick process that you could, or I mean, is there a suggestion if you meet some of these non-engaging, these charisma-free executives, is there a simple 1, 2, 3 that they can follow that will actually allow them to become more charismatic to their employees? Is there a simple process, or do they need to go through, shall we say, all the training that you're proposing?
Okay, great question. Well, it starts with a full day's training, which is incredibly impactful. So at the end of that full day's training, they will have access to more of their charisma. They will become more charismatic if they take it on board. Then, as I was saying earlier, we have modular learning and we have coaching and one-to-one mentoring to enable them to develop their charisma more quickly. But I couldn't just, contact somebody and say, right, you need to do this, this and this, and you're going to be more charismatic. I would need to work.
But is there a single piece of advice that you can go, look, here's one thing you can do that, I mean, maybe it's going back to what you said earlier, maybe that one thing is listen. But is there, because see, everybody thinks they listen.
They do, and they don't.
And they don't. Nobody truly listens.
No, people listen to speak. They don't listen to understand. So yes, I think listening would probably be my top tip in developing your charisma, because by making people, or developing engagement, I would say, because by making people feel valued and listened to, you're pulling out more of their potential. You're encouraging them to be part of the business. You're valuing them as being a great team member. You're giving them a voice. So that's one big step that will certainly lead you down that road to being more charismatic.
But it is the hardest thing in the whole world to listen, I think, to sit. Doing this, for instance, there are a number of things that I can do. When you're talking, what do? I nod my head. Yeah. I show that I'm listening. I give reaction back. There are a lot of people that what they do is that they are forever going, oh yes, which drives me potty. Yes. Just shut up and listen. Oh yes, that is correct. So there's all of that going on as well in the background. So the art of listening is a real skill. Shut up, concentrate on what people are saying, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I use a type of coaching called Time to Think. It was developed by a lady called Time to Think.
Time to Think.
Developed by a lady called Nancy Klein. And it works on the basis that you allow your coaching client just to speak. So the normal coaching model will go, you'll come in, we'll have a bit of a chat, I'll ask you a question, you'll answer it, I'll ask you another question, you'll answer that. Now what happens is each time I ask you a question, I'm interrupting your train of thought. If I don't do that, if I just say, Steve, I'd like you just to talk me through your life. Talk me through your childhood, your upbringing, your training, why you do what you do today, what's good about your work and your life, what's not. And I don't interrupt you at all. What I'm allowing you to do is to access the subconscious brain. So you go into levels of understanding and speaking that you wouldn't normally connect with, because I'm asking you questions. So when I do that with a coaching client, I do it on the first session they have with me, they uncover so much stuff that they haven't thought about or talked about for years, which then clarifies why they're doing what they're doing now, or why they're afraid to take the next step. So that learning to listen is massive, and I'm just about to go on another couple of days training to develop that skill even more. But it's a skill. Listening's a real skill.
Are you an NLP practitioner?
No, I've done a diploma in NLP. I do use it in my coaching. I think it's got its place, and I think it's incredibly valuable. However, I do think sometimes people get just a little bit too hung up on it and can get, well, they're looking to the left. What does that mean? Are they thinking about the past or the future? So I think it has to be used in the right context. rather than being the be-all and end-all, but it's certainly got a place in coaching and development.
Right, we're talking about charisma today, whether you need it. It sounds like you definitely do need charisma in business, but how do you acquire it? What do you need to do to be more charismatic in your business environment? One of the things you need to be able to do is obviously to listen. I suppose there are two parts to listening, though, aren't there? There is the person who is talking to you that you are listening to, you are allowing them to get their story out, to get their message over. But you too have got to process what they're saying. You've got to have understanding of what's been said to you. Is that important, do you think, too? The context of what's been told to you?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, you've really got to pay attention to people and like you say, encourage them. So nod. I mean, if you were just sitting there, looking off into the distance, then I'm going to stop talking, haven't I? The fact that you're nodding, you're looking at me, you're smiling, that encourages me to talk more. And most of the time, what we're doing when we're listening is we're just waiting for that little pause so we can rush in and say something. We're terrified of silence. We hate that. When somebody pauses, we think, I better ask them another question, or I better rush in and say what I think. No, just be comfortable with silence. Allow people to think, allow people to speak, allow them to access those areas of their subconscious that they haven't accessed for many, many years.
It's very interesting you say that about silence. It's one of the most powerful tools. When I was working in the world of shopping television, a silence on air where you would leave it until it was uncomfortable and then a little bit longer was so powerful. And there are people that will do that in presentations. I can guarantee you this. If you are standing up in front of a group of people and you stop talking, regardless of what they're doing, if they're sitting there on their phones, if they've been writing notes, if you leave it long enough, their eyes will come back to you and you will have control of that room again. And that is the power of silence. Not enough people use it because we are frightened of silence. My director has said in my ear that, she couldn't work in radio. There was always the problem in radio that if you leave it for too long, some piece of equipment will go, "You're off the air!" And we'll kick in with another song. But I mean, use it in your presentations. Emphasize a point. Leave it till it's uncomfortable and then leave it a little bit longer. It's a very, very powerful technique. Is that NLP in a way? It is, isn't it? Is that NLP?
Ish. It's the power of the pause. We teach it in the
power of the
PSA.
pause.
Power of the pause.
Some people do business in the pause, like Penny Power. Listen, let's move on. So greater engagement of colleagues and team members, better rapport with clients and prospects. Is that because you are more open to them, or you seem to be more open, or you're more friendly? Is this a case about understanding the difference between being a buddy, being a mate, but being approachable and open?
Well, the thing about being charismatic, you're charismatic because you value yourself. So you've gone through that process. You understand who you are, you understand the value that you've got to offer. So in a meeting situation, you are natural, you're being authentic, you're being yourself because you've got enough self-esteem to put your best face forward. You're not putting on an act. You're just there and you're being you. Whereas somebody that's not got charisma and is nervous and lacking in that self-esteem, they'll put on an act. And then that person that's listening to them can tell, this doesn't feel quite right, it's not authentic. So it's coming back to that being really authentic. And when you're charismatic, you're comfortable in your own skin. Therefore, you make people around you feel comfortable in your presence. And I'll never forget the very first time I was really struck by the power of charisma. It was the first time I ever went networking. And I walked into this crowded room and I was quite nervous. There was about 60 women in this room. Can you imagine the noise? 60 women talking.
60 women talking all at the same time.
Yes.
Loads of talking, nobody listening.
Exactly. But I thought, right, where do I start? And right across the other side of a room, and it was a big room, I spotted this woman and she had massive curly hair and she was animated and everybody was listening and they were really engaged, and I thought, she looks easy to talk to. And I made a beeline for her and she immediately welcomed me to the group. She is a telemarketing expert, so in fact I'm working with her right now. We spoke about her earlier. But within 2 weeks she was working in our company because she was so comfortable in her own skin. She knew exactly the value she offered and she made everybody feel really comfortable in her presence. She drew me to her from the other side of a crowded room.
Knowing your own value, I think perhaps maybe that, and and not feeling that personal awkwardness.
Yes.
We'll talk more about that in just a few moments' time. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company with us today. Hope you're enjoying. We've got more to come from Sylvia Baldock in just a few moments' time. You know, we're here every Monday, incidentally, and with over 200 hours worth of programmes, it's great to have your company. Please do leave comments if you're enjoying today's programme. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up if you don't mind. Leave a comment. That really is important to us. And tell us the kind of questions and programmes that you'd like to see. Also, if you want to get involved with us on Twitter, follow us on BCL Business TV, or go to our website. More importantly, go to the website, because not only do you just get the top line information about our guests, but you can find out a little bit more. You get all their contact details and everything like that. Just simply go to www.businessconnectionslive.com, the UK's leading online business channel. There are others out there, but they're nowhere near as good as we are. Well, there's a couple, but they make you pay for it. Anyway, moving smartly on. So let's look back at another program. Some more great advice. They say that everybody has a book inside of them. Ginny Carter, hang on about a second. Let me just pick this up. My microphone's full enough. Ginny Carter joined us on the program in October 2016. The Author Maker is what we call the program. How to write a business book if you're a coach, consultant or speaker. Or if you're an expert in what you do, then maybe a book will help you raise your profile. Interestingly, we have two books with us right now that Sylvia is the author of, and here are the books right now. We'll talk more about those in just a moment. But do you have a book inside of you? Would a book help your business? If you are freelance, if you're working for yourself, if you are a small business owner, but you have that knowledge, would writing that book make a big difference? Could the book, From Now to Wow, could that be your calling card when you go to visit somebody? Ginny Carter explained how you go about doing it.
I'm Ginny Carter, the Author Maker, and I would say the three key takeaways are: the first one is to really plan your book at the beginning. Know why it is you're writing your book. What is it you want for your readers, and what is it you want for you? And just really get clear on that before you go any further, because all of the other questions you have about your book will be answered by those questions that you've asked yourself at the beginning. The second thing is to really focus on your readers. Your readers are the ones that you're writing this book for. It's not really for you, it's for them. And sometimes when you're not quite sure about what to write or how to write it, thinking about what your readers would appreciate will be the easiest way of coming to an answer to that. And then thirdly, you know, if you're struggling with this process, just get some help. There's lots of different kinds of help out there. It might be a ghostwriter, it might be a writing coach, but equally it could be an editor, a proofreader, a cover designer, a publisher. There are so many people out there who are there to help you make your book a reality, and just don't feel that you have to do it all on your own.
The whole program takes you through the entire process that you need to do when it comes to writing a book. A lot of people think you just sit down, you write the book, and then you send it off to a publisher and it gets published. Ta-da! But what she was talking about there was the fact, you know, you write it. How many revisions of your book did you go through before?
Oh, about six.
About 6 revisions?
At least.
And then you send it to somebody and they come back and go, it's a load of rubbish, rewrite it. A friend of ours that's been on the program, she wrote a book, one of the Dummies books, and it was hard work because of the style, the way it had to be written, the number of revisions that came back. It is a tough old thing. If you want advice on that, or you need somebody to write the book for you, Ginny will do that as well. You'll find all our details at businessconnectionslive.com. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have you with us. My guest for today's show is Sylvia Baldock. She is a professional speaker, and a good one at that, business personal coach, and also a mentor as well. Something we don't normally do. I find this really interesting when it comes to marketing your business. We're talking charisma today, but when it comes to marketing your business, how do you go about doing that? A lot of people will attempt to do it either by direct mail. They'll use email, which is still a top way of doing it. They'll use maybe some automated system or a CRM system to contact their customers. Other people think that they can rely on the likes of LinkedIn. We've talked a lot about social media and Twitter as well, and some people will say marketing between the gaps or in the gaps. But what's interesting is that you, not only do you do that, because I know that you use social media a lot, but Sylvia is just about to launch a free lunch and learn session, which is leading into a proper coaching session. and she's come up. It's actual real.
It's real.
It's
Yay!
real. What is that? What is that all about? Now, that is really interesting. What's taking you down the route of going for written copy that you can send out in an envelope with a stamp on it? Why have you gone that route?
Well, talking to a lot of marketeers, they're saying that people are getting a little bit tired of digital and email, and actually to physically get something, and something that, you know, it feels quite good and it's got some pictures and
It's glossy,
got
it's heavy.
facts,
Yeah.
that it's far more likely that people are going to open it and keep it. And, you know, for instance, we're doing some telemarketing around this. Really nice for people to have that in front of them when the telemarketer phones up and said, did you receive this? And can you see the different subjects that we talk about? What's of interest to you? So they've got something glossy in front of them. It also shows that you've taken a bit of time to do it. It lets them see what I look like as well, because I think that's important. You know, you're bringing a trainer in, you want them to look fairly respectable. So, yeah, it's interesting. And then the next big tip on this is hand write the envelopes. People are far more likely to open it if it's handwritten. It looks personal. It's a bit like getting a birthday card or a Christmas card. So.
Well, I mean, when I saw it, I was blown away by it. What Sylvia's actually doing, and I think what's also interesting too, is you're not doing the buckshot effect, are you, with your marketing out on this? You've looked at a defined area,
Yes.
a locality, he
Yes.
says, easy
Yes.
for me to say, a locality, and you've gone out and you are marketing into your local audience.
Yes.
It's, if you look inside of the document as well, I love this, and it's the linguistics of it, it's the way it's been written, all those things. Sylvia Baldock can unlock the hidden potential in you and your business by enabling you to develop a powerful presence that ensures that you always stand out from the crowd. Now, that's powerful and memorable personal presence. Then you've got captivate your audience by presenting with power, passion and presence in business and on the networking circuit. It's important to stand out for all the right reasons. Speaking authentically and confidently is one. And then network your way to success. Networking is one of the fastest, most effective, most powerful ways to grow your business and build fruitful relationships. Now, the danger is, isn't it, that if you were to send that out using social media or as an email, people would not even scan read it, would they?
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. I mean, you send it out as an attachment, people won't even open the attachment. It'll just get binned.
And yet you do. I think that is a real lesson. I suppose what it is, it's a piece of charisma that's been printed up and has been dropped through your letterbox. And that says a lot about somebody, I think, when they receive that. I think that is a brilliant idea. By the way, if you want details on what Sylvia's good, it's a 60 to 90 minute session over lunch to meet your time frame, engage and educate your team and stimulate thought-provoking and productive discussion. That's what this is about. You're doing that, that's your lost leader, that's your lead magnet, isn't it?
It's my lead magnet.
See,
yes.
I know all the terminology.
You astound me, Steve.
So that's your lead magnet. You're going in there. If people want to do something like that,
Yes.
you're also following it up by telesales as well. And you've got the lady you were talking about earlier
Yes.
on. She's coming
Yes.
in to help you out on
Yes.
that.
Yes, she is. And what I'm doing this for is that I really appreciate that it's difficult to book a trainer if you've never seen them in action. You know, you want to know that they're going to have rapport with your team, that they're going to deliver in the style that works for your business. So, you know, I'm doing a session per team, and then what I can follow up with is a full day or a half day workshop and some one-to-one coaching and mentoring if that's what the company wants. So I'm looking to go in and work with businesses on more of a long-term basis, and this is the initial getting to know you, getting to understand what I offer phase.
When you're talking to them, because you're like the way I've done this, but you are collaborating with them on a particular level, aren't you?
Indeed.
Are you trying to say, look, you know, this is me working with you. What you now need to do is to work together collaboratively, because by working together as a team, you're going to be a lot stronger. And of course, that must come from the charisma, the leadership of the people within the business. Is that what you're trying to achieve with this?
Definitely. Yeah, you know, it's unlocking the hidden potential in individuals, but also in teams, because when, as you know from the last time we spoke, I do profiling. So when each member of the team understands the natural strengths of their colleagues, then they can tap into those strengths, and they really appreciate that they all do need to be different, rather than complaining because somebody asks too many questions or goes off at a tangent with new ideas all the time. They recognise that those people bring value in their own right, and so therefore they'll collaborate rather than compete. And everything I do is about bringing the team together and recognising that we work much better as a whole rather than individually.
When you come in here, you probably get this underlying feeling of negativity from my team. They all, and fear, they're fearful of me and negative towards me. That's not true, actually. I work with a lovely team of people. It's not true at all. But how do you change the mindset? Because you go into organisations. If you can't change the mindset at the top, is the game up? Are you walking towards the door? Because without changing the mindset at the top of the business, then it's not going to filter its way down.
I totally agree, which is why this Charisma Connection programme is aimed at senior leadership teams. Because if we can't get the leadership team valuing the people around them, then no, it's not going to work. If you've got a leader that rules by fear, then it's going to filter through the whole organisation. Everybody in that organisation is going to feel that fear. The growth is going to be stifled. The creativity is going to be dumbed down, and ultimately they're going to leave. So the turnover of staff is really, really high. Whereas if you can get the leadership team engaged and valuing each other and valuing the people around them and being more charismatic and knowing the value they bring and being comfortable in their own skin, then they'll make everybody around them feel that as well.
How do you identify just lip service to it? Because there are people that will go through this process, probably will be quite charismatic, but will offer you no more than lip service in what they're in the way that they actually deliver the goods at the end of the day.
Well, they'll see the result, because I'd never go in and just run one programme. I'd go back in and do a follow-up. So I would see immediately if...
Do you name and shame?
Well, let me give you an example. There was one CEO who was criticised by his team because he would just come in, go straight into his office, shut the door and get on with it. So he decided, as a result of some work, that he would come in and he would say good morning to everybody. And when I went back for the follow-up, I said, so has he changed? Oh, yes, he's changed dramatically. He walks into the office and he goes, morning, 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 and goes in and shuts his door.
Right.
So he needed a little bit more work. He hadn't quite got to grips with it.
Was that the stick with the nail through the end of it?
That works on occasion, Steve.
So, but it's... Did he realise he was still doing that? Was there an underlying issue that he had? Was he very shy?
Yes, he was underneath it all.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
So did he actually have inner charisma? Did he have charisma?
We all have inner charisma. We're born with charisma. I mean, you think of a newborn baby, it comes into the world, it's got no limiting beliefs, has it? It's the centre of the universe, every need is met, so it's got masses of charisma. It's the negativity that we experience growing up. I can't remember whether we spoke about this last time, but apparently by the time we reach adulthood, we've heard on average 250,000 negative messages about ourselves. That squashes our charisma. It's a bit like putting films over a light, layers of film over a light, and it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And my role is to peel some of those layers off so you can get that light shining again, because it's there in all of us. It's not your birthright, it's there in all of us. It's just that a lot of us, it's become very dim.
We're talking about charisma. Still got quite a bit more to get through before we finish, because we're going to be talking about augmented charisma, which I don't know what that means. I can't even say it, let alone know what it says. I don't know what it means, but I am looking forward to finding out on the programme in just a few moments' time. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company. Don't forget, if you love a programme like this one, incidentally, please do get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. We can put a programme together if you want to communicate, contact, keep in touch, inform, educate your staff, your customers. If you just want to have a presence out there, I mean, everybody's now talking about using video on their websites, and I can see that. And there are places for short form, you know, your 1.5 minutes, your 2 minute, shot on your iPhone, because the iPhone is a fantastic camera. And there is places as well for long form, glossy, nicely produced pieces as well. And there's a place in the middle of all of that where it's not quite 2 hours long. and it's not quite 2 minutes long. Maybe it's just sitting in the middle, where it's an opportunity for you to talk to your workforce, to your employees, to engage them. We've been talking all the way through the show on charisma today, but maybe you could engage them by letting them get to know you a little bit. The camera is one of those strange things. It does see the soul. It's kind of a bit like an X-ray machine. It sees past the eyes, and once you get used to sitting in front of it, it becomes very natural to share you with your audience. Now, if you were sharing you with your workforce or your customers, what benefits would that bring your business? It's going to increase the bottom line, surely, isn't it? If they feel that they can trust you and they can depend on you simply because they've got to know you. And isn't that what we're trying to do with all the different forms of media that we've got out there at the moment? Our social media, everybody's going on, the word is social. Maybe we should be talking about social video. Maybe that's what we should be talking about. Maybe. In fact, we will be. From now on, it will be social video, because it is about interaction. This isn't a one-way thing. We're not just talking to you. We are inviting you all the time to talk back to us, to tell us what you want, to give us your suggestions, to ask your questions. This is a conversation. And if you're not using video in that particular way, then you should be. Now, if you feel you don't have the skills to do that in front of a camera, we run a one-day training course, which is called How to Handle the Media, which gives you the inside track on the best way to maybe get your charisma across to the press, get it across to radio, get it across to television. James Griffin, while he was working at Cashflow, he brought his team. He's now actually gone to Vodafone, but he brought his team on our training course. And this is what he said about our How to Handle the Media training.
I'm James Griffin from Iris Software, and my team have just completed the How to Handle the Media workshop. It was a really great course, it was really fun, and it was a really unique way for them to polish their presentation skills and learn how to answer difficult questions under pressure. So I'd highly recommend this to anybody that values those skills and really wants a great day out with their team.
And congratulations to you as well, James, for the new role that you've got, and I hope it all goes fantastically well for you in 2017. I know last year was a good year, and I hope this year is going to be even better for you as well. You're watching Business Connections Live. Join me in the studio today is Sylvia Baldock, professional speaker, business personnel coach and mentor, all-round great person, author as well. She's got 2 books out, From Now to Wow in 30 Days, Part 1, From Now to Wow, 30 Days, 30 Steps, Part 2. Both the books available on Amazon.
They are, indeed, yeah.
And you'll find links also on our website as well if you want to find out more. Interesting. Which is the first book, the green one or the orange?
The orange one.
The orange one is the first book.
My 30 top tips on developing a powerful presence, and it's designed to be a tip a day. So I say to people, keep it in the loo. Get to the loo in the morning, have a tip, read a quote, and it'll set you up for the day.
It sets you up for the day.
Yeah.
And it's so, okay, so little things make it is a tip. Tip number 12 this is, so I'm going to give a tip away. Is that
Go
allowed?
on, give a tip away.
All right, tip away. People remember the way you looked the first time they met you, long after the event. So that first impression is everything. Make looking after you a priority and adopt the habit of looking good for every occasion. The result will be that you will feel so much better about you. You will know that you look your best. You will network more confidently. You'll relate to your clients with more assertiveness, and your personal presence will be much stronger.
There you go, Steve. Great tip.
It's got to be done. And on this one here?
This is my top 30 tips on how to present with more passion, more power and more presence.
Shall I give one out?
Go on.
Here we go. We're going to give one out then. Strangely, this is tip number 12 as well.
Oh.
It says, closing with impact. Hold your power to the last minute. Reinforce your key messages. Leave your listeners wanting more. How true. 2 great books available right now if you go onto Amazon, and you can download them. I take it you can also download them to your Kindles and things like that as well. So
indeed.
Fantastic books to have with you. And if you're just looking for a little bit of inspiration, then these are the kind of books you want. Oh, and I've had a question that's come in. can we download this? Can we have a PDF of that to download from the site? Is that allowed? So if you want to download this document as well, maybe as inspiration for a document for your own, or more importantly, if you'd actually like to go on one of these training courses, or you'd like to find out more about Sylvia, then you can go to the website and you can download the document and see what this is all about. And there is another sheet here, which is the charisma connection that we've got there. Appreciate the benefits gained from developing charisma. Understand how neuroscience relates to energy, behaviour and charisma as well. Listen, I feel like I'm doing ad after ad shopping telly. By now,
you are fabulous.
I am cooking today. Order yours right now. We are not affiliates to this yet. All right. Augmented charisma. What's that all about then? What are you talking about then?
Augmented charisma. Well, let's go back to what we were speaking about a minute ago about when you get your profile done and you understand your natural strengths and you start to play to your strengths, so you spend more time doing what you're naturally meant to do, then you're in a state of flow. When you're in flow, you're energized, you're engaged, you're motivated, you're fired up, and therefore you walk into a room and people can just sense this energy about you. Because, you know, we're all surrounded by an energy field, and when we're working on purpose...
Don't go wacky on me.
Oh, I could very easily. I almost did. Okay.
All right. I can see you are surrounded by an aura even as we speak.
There we go, you see? And when you're in flow, that is expansive. So you walk in and you have got augmented charisma, and the more time you spend in flow, the more energized you become, the more your self-esteem grows, the better feedback you get. So that all of that gives you augmented charisma. It's all about doing what you should do best. It's a bit like me and
speaking.
speaking.
Do you think, I mean, you talk there about being in flow and this energy. Is it just the air of confidence? Is that what people mean when they say that? There's this air of confidence when they walk in the room and their presence? Is that the same thing?
Confidence, and it's a comfortable place to be. So remember me saying earlier about people with charisma are comfortable in their own skin, and because they're comfortable in their own skin, they make you feel comfortable as well. So, you know, if you walk into a room of people, you're networking, and there's somebody standing in the corner looking incredibly nervous, you don't feel drawn to them because you think that's going to be a really difficult conversation. Whereas somebody like Natalie, who I explained earlier, very effervescent, you know, really engaging everybody, you instantly think they're going to be easy to be around, they're going to be easy to talk to. So
it's on a scale then you've got the wallflower sitting over here, who you don't want to go near, and then at there must be one at the other end of the scale that are just so loud, so noisy, so full of their own confidence, self-importance, that you don't want to go
right.
You don't want to go near.
I'm so glad you've asked that, because a lot of people think charisma is all about being really loud and being the life and soul of the party, but you can be quietly charismatic. It doesn't necessarily mean being loud. It means being at ease with yourself. So when you're at ease with yourself, whether you are loud or whether you're quiet, you make people around you feel at ease as well. You make them feel valued because you value yourself.
If you were to strip away everything that you've talked about today and the branding and everything, how would you describe yourself? Are you a shy person that has used the techniques that you use now to be more charismatic, to be everything that you potentially can be, or are you naturally quite effervescent? I mean, when you walk in the room, people do recognise you, they do know who you are, but you have worked quite extensively on your branding. I mean, quite a lot of that is very deliberate. So, but if you strip all that away, what kind of person are you then?
Well,
it kind of shows us that anybody could anybody, even shy people, be a Sylvia Baldock, in inverted commas.
Well, they wouldn't want to be a Sylvia Baldock, but they could be the best, most charismatic version of themselves. You know, all of us have times when we feel out of our comfort zone. So, for example, if you put me in a studio with a load of politicians discussing Brexit, I would feel out of my comfort zone. So you wouldn't see me being so charismatic in that situation. So charisma can be contextual. So put me in front of the PSA on the London stage, totally ease, love it. I get on there and I'm in the zone and that's it, I'm on flow. So yeah, I think behind every charismatic person, there's also a shy person underneath it all. I think we can all, and you look at comedians, you know, they're very famously brilliant on stage, but they can be morose and suffer from depression at home. So there's that, almost the yin and the yang of people. And I think we've all got part introvert, part extrovert. But the more time you spend in flow and the more time you do what you love doing and the more you value yourself, the more of your natural charisma and self-esteem comes out.
It's really interesting because, you know, and it's true what you say. It's the context of where you are at the time. And I think that's why sometimes people feel so uncomfortable in networking events.
Yes.
Because they're uncomfortable in the context of what the event is.
Yes.
But also, I don't think we're very good at that. We've kind of worked our way through, you know, we talked about the greater engagement. One-word sentences, because I'm going to ask you anyway to do a quick sum up in a moment, but greater engagement of colleagues and team members, what would it be? One-word sentence on that, to do a quick way of doing that.
Run the Charisma Connection programme. Get people really understanding the impact of their thoughts and feelings. Actually, I'd just like to talk about that just very briefly, Steve, because our thoughts have a huge impact on the people around us. So if I was sitting here thinking, oh, you know, Steve's not very good and he looks a bit scruffy, and I'm thinking...
Well, all true, what you said outside.
You will actually sense that subconsciously. So if you're in a networking group and you're talking to somebody and you're actually thinking, oh God, I can't wait to get away from this person, subconsciously they will feel that. So our thoughts have much, much greater impact than we think. And there's loads of neuroscience behind that, which I haven't got time to go into today. Been lots of tests, studies, research done on it. The way we think directly impacts on the people around us.
I read a book once that was very interesting, where it says don't judge people on their, you know, the first impression. And we do. We've made up our mind in the first couple of microseconds.
Yeah.
Milliseconds.
Tenth of a second. Tenth of a second. We
tenth of a second. Yeah. And we don't realise we've made our mind up.
No.
And we do that all the way through our lives. It's something that is happening. It's primeval nearly, what's going on inside our head, the way we do it. Listen, actually, time is nearly beaten us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look straight down camera number one, say who you are, where you're from, and the key takeaways that we need to remember. As much charisma as you can on today's particular programme, and that'd be fantastic.
Lovely.
So straight down number one, the airways, Sylvia, are all yours.
Okay, so I'm Sylvia Baldock and I'm a coach, a trainer, a speaker, an author, and I spend my life unlocking the hidden potential in individuals and teams. We all have an innate charisma. It's not your birthright, you're born with it. It becomes shrouded in layers of limiting self-belief and negativity, and these can be stripped away to let you stand up and shine and be the person you were born to be, doing the work that you love doing, that you're naturally talented in, that makes you feel valued and makes other people want to be in your presence. So do get in touch with me. It's sylvia@sylviabaldock.com or it's inspirationalspeaker.uk. Thank you.
And you can probably see Sylvia up and down the UK as well over the coming months when she's going to be out doing some of her speaking. If you want more details, as I said, concerning the free lunch and learn session for your team, if you are a business owner and you think that this may be of some benefit to your organisation, then go to businessconnectionslive.com. You can download the brochure, or as Sylvia said, you can go to her website as well to find out more details at sylviabaldock.com as well. In fact, there's a whole load of websites, inspirationalspeaker.com, sylviabaldock.com. You can also follow her or join her on LinkedIn as well, and also you've got your own YouTube channel too. If you want more details about that, simply go online. You've also got this here as well that tells you more about charisma, from now to wow in 30 days. but wait, there's more. From now to wow in 30 days. More tips on presentation. Anyway, listen, that's enough of that.
You should be on a shopping channel.
Yes. I should really, shouldn't I? No, not really. Finally, the Nikki Owen book as well, Charismatic to the Core.
Charismatic to the Core.
Now, this
Fabulous book.
Now, just very briefly, in 30 seconds, tell us about the book.
It contains all the research that Nikki's done over the last 30 years. So it's got lots of scientific evidence, it's got lots of case studies, and it talks about the neuroscience behind charisma as well. So it goes into a really deep level, and it's got some exercises that you can do to help yourself become more charismatic.
So a lot of reading material actually sitting out there at the moment. So once again, thank you very much indeed for joining us on today's edition of Business Connections Live. We hope you've enjoyed it, and don't forget to join us again next week. Thank you very much indeed, Sylvia.
Thank you, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
Listen, a little bit of housekeeping to do just before we walk out the door, and then we can all run away and we can have lunch. Coming up on future programmes, we've got, now we're hoping to have Nigel Risner on the programme. We think he may be coming in by Skype next week. He's a motivational speaker. How would you describe Nigel? What would you say he is?
The rhino.
The rhino.
Awesome.
Loud?
Awesome. Yeah, he is loud, but he's got...
Talks sense.
He talks sense. He's got some great tips, and he's very well worth listening to, so definitely tune in for that one.
That should be a really good show. Deborah Hume's going to be talking about neuroscience and other areas as well. Ali Crump from the AA about Drive Tech if you're operating or running a fleet of vehicles at the moment. Who else have we got here? We've got Polly Buckland, the Typeface Group, Jackie Jarvis. We know Jackie, she's going to be joining us again. James Potter, the LinkedIn man, more tips on how to use LinkedIn. Tom Evans, author of Practical Mindfulness, is going to be joining us. And don't forget, if you'd like to find out how we can help you have a program just like this one for your business, for your organisation, then get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. But from Sylvia Baldock and myself, Steve Hyland, until we do it all again at midday next Monday, have a great week. Till then, bye for now. Bye-bye.